I just woke up from one of those really unsettling naps that doesn't feel restful, and also leaves you really groggy and off put. So, perfect time to do a video. Um, Bunch of really awful uh, video game industry related news this week, but the one I kind of wanted to focus on was what happened today as I'm recording this, which is the announcement that Sony is once again raising the prices on their PlayStation hardware, to where now a PlayStation 5 Pro is going to be a whopping $950 in the United States and higher in other regions. And man, uh, obviously, and I guess I should preface all of this right with a lot of these issues aren't just the video game industry. These stem from much larger issues with the way business has been able to run amok and the way uh, political leadership has allowed businesses to run amok. But at the same time, the industry itself is in a really weird place. It has been for a few years now, where there's a lot of terrible things going on for the people who make the video games. The people who sell the video games are doing pretty darn good. Video games are selling really well, and video game companies are making a lot of money. And it's been pretty good for the video game consumer as well, as far as just having like a lot of choice and a lot of like great games to play. And um, I've been pretty outspoken about resisting a lot of the doomsaying about the future of the video games industry because again, video games are selling really well, and I think that a lot of the doom and gloom that people have about, oh, people are sticking with like older games and everybody's playing GTA 5 online or Fortnite or Roblox or whatever. It's like, yeah, but you have different audiences, right? There's some people who, yeah, those are the games that they play, but those are still video games that still make money. And you have other people who have their kind of forever game that they play in the background. Mine is Final Fantasy 14, and then you have the big games that come out or the games that they're interested in. They'll go play those, finish those because they're finishable, and then you go back to the forever game, which is not finishable because there's other stuff. So there's always other stuff to do, right? Um, or the story of what like last year about, oh, people are only buying like 2 or 3 games a year, and it's like, yeah, that's always been the case. As someone who worked in retail, like a lot of our customers were people who came in to buy like 2 or 3 games a year. Think back to when you were a kid, you probably got 2 or 3 games a year, right? Um, that's just kind of how things go. I think that the video game enthusiasts, the hardcore gamers, the people who watch stuff like this or listen to podcasts or follow the industry closely, I think we're a very vast minority when compared to the millions upon millions of sales that happened for like some of the biggest games. Anyway, the the raising of the prices of the PlayStation 5, which has happened multiple times now. I want to say this might have been the third time for the base, like the original version of the system, and the second time for the PlayStation 5 Pro. Uh, this is going to have a potentially catastrophic effect on where video games go from here because gaming is rapidly becoming this little boutique hobby that only people with like middle-aged income money can afford, and that's not how it's supposed to be. That's never how it's supposed to have been. And we're a dying market, right? Literally. So that's not the way to go. And obviously part of it has to do with lack of resources, right? Like if memory is at a shortage, it's difficult to source those materials to make consoles. I get that. What I'm suggesting, and I've been thinking about this for a while, because I do think that the industry is due for a contraction. And what I mean by that is maybe the video games industry doesn't need to be bigger than the movie industry, right? It's been that way for a long time. Maybe it's time to kind of circle the wagons a bit and just calm the fuck down, right? And what I mean by that, I'm not suggesting like, oh, lay off a bunch more people and stop making video games. What I'm saying is change the focus of what the games industry is. Uh, as far as hardware goes, I really feel that we should, and it seems like signs are pointing to this, but this generation needs to be extended, and really even the generation beyond, whatever that may be, needs to be completely refocused. The seventh generation, which was the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3 era, that was an unprecedentedly long generation. And before that, cycles were usually about 5 years, and the 360, it was like 10 years between the 360 and the launch of the Wii U, which kicked off the eighth generation, right? Um, and that's the and that was in large part due to the recession of 2008, right? Like that put a pretty big cooling effect on R&D or moving forward, and they kind of extended that generation out pretty far. We've already seen that this generation is going further than that. I mean, I think really 5 years that's out. That's no longer a thing, especially when you have like mid console generation refreshes that came in with last generation, and has happened again with this generation. But there needs to be basically, I think everything just needs to slow down a little bit, right? We've been going for um you know trying to increase the power of the systems, and that's not as viable as it used to be, right? We're seeing diminishing returns on that, and the system prices have been going up. So really what I would like to see is systems kind of just level out, and let's not I think a big thing about the industry is that we're at a point where the the technology has outpaced the feasibility of making video games, because you have a lot of stories of places. I mean, you can see it with like games taking longer to make and budgets going sky high. I think part of that does come down to inefficient management or planning or what have you. But there's also something to be said about how expensive it is to just make assets in a video game or do this or that in a video game. And maybe what we need to do is wait for things to kind of equalize, where the pipeline becomes streamlined and easier to do those things and cheaper to do those things. And I'm not talking about AI, I'm just talking about better uh tools and resources to make that more viable. And maybe part of that is a kind of pullback on, I like, look, I'm a big budget, big blockbuster type of guy, but we can scale back on some of this stuff, right? Not everything has to look like Horizon, or Ghost of Yote, right? I think that what you see with what Capcom's been doing, and what with what Falcom's been doing over the last, or for this generation, um, what RGG Studios has been doing for this generation, they've been putting out an incredible amount of games, and they've been doing it through different methods, right? So like Falcom is just like very they have like an art style that is allowing them to make games very quickly and efficiently, and they seem to do better with them every year. You have RGG being very smart about reusing a lot of stuff, but be it assets or animations or environments, that allows them to keep a pretty good cadence of games going, but games that still look really nice and are very popular. And then you have Capcom, who just they built their own engine, and they apparently learned that engine really really well, and it shows in their games. And they they usually have two or three must play games every year. It's kind of it's like a golden age for that company, right? So there are things to be learned about that. And there's also something to be said about let's stylize things a bit more. Let's kind of temper down the like what's going on the screen at any given time. But because I think there's Actually, I know there's an audience for that. You see it all the time. I have another video planned for uh, people who are like anti AAA or wanting games to fail are very bizarre people to me, and I want to talk about that later. But then on the hardware side, especially for next generation, like I don't think that we necessarily need or should even have a significant upgrade for whatever you want to call the PlayStation 6 or the next Xbox. If they're, I mean, they said there's going to be one. I'll believe it when I see it. Let's work on getting the guts of what the current hardware is more efficient and cheaper. And, let's do more of a lateral shift. Let's hone in on the stuff that we've been trying to do for this generation. Right. So like a big thing has been like, let's get 4K with 60 frames per second. That's still not like across the board. Right. So let's try to make good on the promises of this current generation, make sure that we've got that nice and solid and locked in. Let's get the console prices back down. I had to go back and look up what the launch price was for the PS5 because I couldn't remember. So the disc version, the one that I got, was $4.99, and the digital version was $3.99. Let's shoot for $3.99 with a disk drive, right? Let's try to get back to that, and let's see what happens, because my concern is that these prices, if this continues and if this sustains, is going to crater the games industry, and we're already losing so much incredible talent from all of these stupid layoffs. And that's kind of the other side of the coin. Is I'm not suggesting that we lay off people or stop making video games. I am suggesting that we start greenlighting. I say we like I'm involved, but you know what you know where I'm getting at. Greenlight and get off the ground smaller scoped projects. Maybe bring back some old favorites. Maybe do some more remakes, but let's not go like insane with them, right? Like let's scope them appropriately. Let's bring back like that Xbox Live Arcade. I mean, not that that's really gone away, but let's put a focus on that, right? Why aren't like Sony and Nintendo and Microsoft making games in that strata, right? It's mostly indies and third parties that are working there, but let's see some first party stuff that's working in that level of game design. Let's just have more variety, and this is the time to like just start throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. Um, because at the end of the day, you never know what your next huge franchise is going to be, right? But you can't have a huge franchise if you don't make the video games, and you don't pay the people to make the video games, and you don't hire the people to make the video games. Uh, but yeah, that's just kind of some of my rambling thoughts about what's going on right now. Fuck, it's really bleak out there, and uh, it's weird because you don't see it really reflected in software sales, uh, but you are starting to see it reflected in console sales, and that's going to have a knock-on effect unless people just flock to PC and start playing like just like friend slop and like super cheap Steam sale games and stuff like that, and just completely abandon anything even approaching double A, right? Which I also don't think that that's the best course of action either. But those are my thoughts. My thoughts aren't your thoughts, because if they were your thoughts, I'd be you and you'd be me, or whatever it is that I say sometimes. See you next time.